Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. Something very long in this video. It's an Amstrad CPC 6128. This was kindly donated by Mike Pearman, one of my patrons. Very much appreciated, Mike. I can't thank you enough for this. This is in incredible condition as well. Giving you a close-up around this. So we've got the internal speaker here, volume, power, off, on. Disk drive 2, that's interesting. So yeah, you could connect another disk drive up. Monitor, 5 volts, 12 volts. You've got to be careful you don't get the wrong type of connector in here. You know, that will, I think you could plug a Mega Drive power supply in there, which is 9 to 14 volts approximately. So you would destroy everything on the board because it's unregulated. And the expansion port here, and a printer port. And on the side we've got a tape in port. That's nice, so you could connect a tape deck up. Joystick. Why is there only one joystick port? I don't remember the CPC having a pass-through on the joystick. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it does, I'm just not remembering. And stereo audio out, presumably. So I think rather than just power this up, we'll flip it over and remove the various screws. I want to have a look inside anyway, because Mike mentioned, well, he said he did attach the 12 volts, and that's clear, as we just see on the back. There's no connector or cable or whatever there. I think he also kindly included a belt for the drive. I'm not sure whether he's fitted that or what, but it may be floating around inside or something like that. I've got no idea. So I removed all the screws from underneath, and there's 2 on the side of the drive here. So if we just carefully lift this up, now bear in mind the keyboard is going to be connected somewhere, and it's down there, look. So if we lift it up like that, yeah, you can see here you've not got much room to play with. Ouch at those connectors on the back, they're a bit corroded, but you could literally lay it flat like that. Just saves you disconnecting and reconnecting this. So the first thing that caught my eye here is these look a little bit corroded actually. So looking around the board here, that's 40010, that's the gate array, isn't it? We've got a HAL up here, which is like a GAL, it's a programmable part. 74LS244, LS373, what's that there, UM8272A, could be a floppy disk controller that. Just looking at the 72A bit is making me think that actually. Socketed Z80 CPU there, so an official Zilog one. 40015 and a 40025. ROMs maybe? Yeah, that says ROM FDD, so there's going to be one for the floppy drive and one for basic or something presumably. The board in general looks in very good condition actually. You can see here, yeah, so Mike's kindly disconnected the 12 volt wire and also included me a belt, which is fantastic as well. Thank you very much for that, Mike. So I think what I'll do is go and get my cable for my 464 and the 464 power supply. And I think we'll just we'll try and power this up actually via the 5 volt at the back here. Now thinking about this, before I just go away and power it up, you can see I've just plugged that on there. The floppy disk drive is going to use 5 volts and 12 volts. There are 2 different colour wires there, red and an orange. And floppy drives, you can see there, it says DC 12 volts. Sorry, it's upside down. So the floppy drive will need 12 volts, which makes me wonder whether you need to supply 5 volts and 12 volts to this. So I'm going to use this power supply here to power both the 5 volt side and the 12 volt side. You can see it says output 12 volts 2 amp, 5 volts at 2 amp. So I previously tried, you can see this has got a CD32 power connector with some awful heat shrink that I've tried to peel back there. So we'll just desolder that first of all. The reason I ended up not using this with a CD32 is I found it was introducing some noise on the video. So we may find it's not really suitable here. So my question was, is +5 red or yellow? It just goes to show you cannot go off colours designations with some of these cheap power supplies here. I'm going to show you this. So the red is, hang on, -5, hang on a minute. I think the red's ground actually. Let's just slip it around that way. So red is ground, let's check yellow, yeah, +5. So yellow is +5 and black is +12. So red is ground, yellow is 5 volts. So on the connector here it should be 5 volts positive, I think. Yay, 5 volts positive. And on this one here, it should be 12 volts negative from the centre, which means it's the other way around. You can see you've got 12 volts, minus 12. So I'm just going to double check that according to the CPC. So just testing the original power supply, it's centre positive. I've got the positive probe in the middle there on the MP1 power supply, so that's definitely correct. The only other thing we need to know is the ground. Well, we know the ground is there, so we can test that ground. If we connect the power supply here, we're testing from the shield there to one of the, yeah, there we go, bottom right most pins on these 7.4 series chips here. That's our ground. So if we test with the connector up here, ground is on the left, so 12 volts is going to be on the right. So let's just disconnect that power. So it should be ground on the left, so if I plug that there, let's just test the outer. Yeah, so the outer isn't ground, the centre point should be ground. That's right. And we can do that same check here. We know this is a ground, so the centre point here should be a ground. And it is. So our cable is correct. We can now connect it up, I think. I'll disconnect the power supply first. The power supply is not connected. We want to feed our 5 volts in, so we'll feed it through the pass-through for the TV, and then into there. That's our 5 volts done, and then our 12 volts is here. Hopefully that's the right size connector. And we'll connect the power. Woohoo! So we have power. So I can now test the disk drive out, I think. So this will do me for testing, but can you see we've got lots of noise, like bands coming down the screen. This is the problem with using that type of power supply. It's a switch mode power supply, which if it had proper filtering and stuff in it, it wouldn't be an issue. But I don't know if you can see the noise coming down? This is the same issue I had with the CD32. So I'm going to go away and order a power supply for the 12 volt rail, and then hopefully we shouldn't get that issue. But it at least allows me to test this. So we might need another drive on this. There's definitely something wrong with the drive. Let me just show you this. Switch it on. You can hear a little click. If we just manually wind the head back up here, let's see if I can do it all the way actually. It's not the easiest thing. Right, so it's right back at the beginning. And switch it on, just watch. See it move forward. Move forward. This is power cycles here. Move forward. It's just continuing to move forward. I want to try CAT. It says there's no disk drive connected. We'll swap the belt out anyway. Let's get the drive out. So I'll start with the connections here. A couple of screws. One holds the ground on, and the other one holds the drive in. I'm not sure if it's just 2 screws on that side actually. Let's just take the disc out. Yeah, it doesn't eject very well either. I can see bits of the belt down there actually. Yeah, look, here's the belt. There's the old belt. So let's disconnect the drive. So we'll disconnect the power and get it off, and we'll disconnect the data. Could be a floppy controller problem on the CPC motherboard itself. So having a quick look around the drive there. I'll inspect that off camera in a minute. So our belt wants to go between this wheel here and the motor, which is here. So it's right under this board. We'll need to disconnect that board. Bear in mind there's going to be things connected to this board like the heads, and after you do a removal of a board like this, you may find the alignment needs tweaking slightly because of the track 0 sensor. I'm not sure, I can't believe it was on the PCB or not. What's holding that in there? Got these connectors here. Let's just try and disconnect this one if we can for the stepper here. There we go, that's that one off. And then the heads are here, but it looks like the cable's a little bit longer on that, so we might just be able to lift this to see what's going on underneath it maybe. Yeah, I can disconnect the heads here, look. Might be an idea just to disconnect this as well actually, because that's what's hindering removal of this bit here. I'm not sure what that is. Is that a disk detection sensor or something? Or a switch? So let's just clean around the wheel here using a cotton bud with some IPA. It's just going to get the remnants of that belt and any dirt that the belt left on the plastic wheel there. And then we use the dry end. You can see though the blackness on that cotton bud there, so it had left some residue on there. And if we just pull the PCB over, you can see the motor there. So we'll do the same thing here, I think. Again, there's some black stuff coming off on that. And we'll use the dry end again. And we'll get the new belt on. You can see this came from DataServe. So thanks again to Mike for cleaning the belt. So there are probably easier ways of doing this. You know, you could unscrew the track 0 sensor there. Screw's just fallen out. Look, I'm not sure where that came from actually. Oh, that's a pin. Where's that pin just come from? Uh-oh. Yeah. I vaguely remember a pin falling out of these drives when I've looked at them in the past, but it's that long since I serviced one of these. I honestly can't remember where that pin came from, so we'll need to work that out in a second. Anyway, let's just try and get the belt on. So if I don't know, it's a bit difficult this, because this belt has been twisted when it's been, you know, stored there. Feed it that way. Try and pull it down and under here, if I can. Can't grab the blooming thing now. Oh my goodness, this is fiddly. There we go. And I'll feed that side around there, like that, and try and pull it. Try and pull it all the way around. Oh, it's flung off here now. Look. Yeah, that's it. Just need to, and then I'd rotate just to make sure you've not got any twists in it. That appears to be on, actually. So as far as I can tell, that pin looks like it came out of that hole there, pushed it back in. Oh, I've pulled it back out with a bit of magnetism now, look. Yeah, so when the disc is in, the right protect notch, I think, is going to push that down, and there's a switch on the underside here that corresponds with that. That was the clue for me that that's where it went. I was looking at the switches, because I assumed it would be something to do with a switch. Let's see if we can get the LED back in. There we go. Get that back down there. So I can screw the board back in. We'll get the sensor back in, so the wires are tucked down there. Bear in mind the point I made earlier that this could affect alignment. Although it might just be to detect if there's a disc in the drive or something like that. It could even be something to the RPM. So I think that's it. We haven't cleaned the heads or anything. I just want to see if there's any difference in behaviour. So now we've changed the belt out, let's switch it on. Put the disc in, so I've got red heat here. Now bear in mind we haven't finished cleaning that drive or anything yet. I haven't even cleaned the heads. Let's try cat again. It's working. Wow. I forgot how you do this now. Does it run the disc maybe? It's doing something. Still looking at the disk drive. Yeah, it just sat on a black screen forever there with the floppy LED illuminating, so something is still not quite right for this. Let's just try cleaning the head here with our cotton bud and IPA, and we use the dry end. Single head on these. The discs are double-sided though. You can turn the disc over, I think, for the other side. So we'll try that again, but this time we'll try it with it this way up so we can see what's going on. Yeah, we have got the right side of the disc, I think. I'll probably get a bit of lubrication into the mechanism and stuff here as well, because it feels like the disc's not going in very well. A bit of lubrication on here and the slide rail. So I'll do cat again. So that works okay, and we'll do run. I'm not sure if there's a shortcut for this. We'll do run disc. Could be that this disc is bad. It could also be an alignment issue. No, it's going up, look. Went up a couple of tracks. Got a little bit more progress. This time we've got a yellow screen. So we'll clean this bar here, I think. See if I can rotate it that way. It's pretty easy to just, you know, press down on it as you move across and you'll rotate it around like that. It is pretty bone dry, that bar, but then we'll get some molycoat onto it. Let's try and move it the other way. Now we haven't moved the Track Zero sensor, so the only thing it could be is this motor, and we'll just get a little bit of molycoat onto there and then see if we can rotate it. I prefer to get it all the way across that way because I'm presuming it's going to seek back to Track Zero. See if I can rotate that there. That's it. So what I'll do is just get a lot more molycoat here and then just liberally spread it across there like that. Right, let me power it back up. I'll see if we can get that moving. Let's just get that bit off the motor plate there. So let's try cat. So that's good. Let's come up with catalogue. Let's try run disk again. Run disk. Hang on. Quote disk. I don't know whether it's not happy. Hang on, it's doing something. It's loading again. Ah, look, we got a wee little bit further there, and then it's given up again. Let me just try and just push the head a little bit. I wonder if it's having problems trying to find the track there from alignment. And another power cycle and another try, and it's done the same thing again. It's got a bit further this time. So let's get a little bit of lubrication onto this rail here. Just get that little bit off the end of the plastic of the head there. And let's just use that molycoat to rotate this if we can. Which way is it? That way, isn't it? I'm trying to avoid doing it with my fingers because I just get molycoat all over my fingers. Let's just move it all the way up there. Then we'll get some more molycoat and we can get a little bit down here on that rail and we'll get a little bit more on there. And I may just need to try and load the same thing a few times to get the head exercising, going up and down the disc here. Yeah, same thing, look, so maybe it's an alignment issue. Maybe that's what's wrong now. Could just try adjusting the Track Zero sensor a little bit here actually. Let's try that. The equivalent thing would be to adjust the motor on the back here. I'll post a link down below. I saw that on another channel recently. It's the same issue I found with some of the A1200 disk drives actually. Yeah, no, it's not finding it at all. So let's just adjust that back again. Yeah, it's working again. Yeah, we're back to the same situation there. Maybe it's this disc. Maybe this disc is no good. The weird thing is after doing that, that's worked. I'm just going to load that again because the title screen's not right, so maybe this disc has got a corruption on it or something at the title screen part. But you'll see, it is actually working. Well, hopefully it'll do the same thing. It took quite a while to load, so you get that reseek there or whatever that is. Then the screen goes black. Then we get the title screen. Now look, you see that's not completely loaded, has it? Yeah, that suggests to me there's some sort of issue there. Could be a RAM fault, I guess. But it's still loading. That's the key here. If you just leave it, it is still loading. Let's try that again. I'm going to put a bit of pressure on that motor from the back, actually, while I do that. Just to see if we get a better title screen, maybe. So let's try that again. Oh look, that's putting a bit of pressure on the motor at the back. And it loaded really quick. So it looks like I've got exactly the same problem that I saw on another video the other day. I forget the name of the channel, I'll mention it in a minute. I just need to remind myself. The channel, and I'll post a link down below, is Noel's Retro Lab, I think. And he had this issue with these motors here. So just like on that floppy drive from hell on the A1200, it's the same issue. The head alignment is affected. But the head alignment on this one is affected. You see this little springy thing back here? I'm just trying to tilt this upwards a little bit. Can you see that? It's like a little piece of metal bent inwards to hold the motor, the bar that goes through the centre, the worm bar as I call it. So the tension on that spring goes over time. So when it, depending on which way the head is going, it can push outwards this way, meaning that the alignment changes slightly. So when I loaded it a minute ago, what I did is just press my finger like that there, and it loaded all the way through perfectly. So I know that that's the issue. Now he adjusted the alignment. I'm not so sure it needs an alignment adjustment. I think the problem is the spring here, you know, this metal part. I wonder if someone could 3D print something that could clip on there and just press that firmly. I don't know, you'd have to support it somehow, maybe with the screw mount here. But bear in mind, if you want to do that screw, as Noel did on his video, your alignment gets shifted by rotation of this motor, just like I showed on that A1200 floppy drive from hell. Now, the observation I would make from watching that video is mark this here, use a really super fine permanent marker and draw a mark, and then draw a mark on one of the other bits over here, and then when you take the motor off and put it back on, you can get it almost dialed in perfectly. You may then need to do what Noel did, which is to unscrew this screw. I think there's another one down there, yeah, unscrew that screw, but have them tight enough to hold it, but not tight enough so that you can't twist it, and then you can just twist it a tiny little bit. And just like that video I did on the A1200 floppy drive there, the movement, you need to move it probably less than 1/4 millimetre to get quite a large movement in terms of the track alignment there. I'll post a link to that floppy drive video, which way I've got the camera up here, so you can watch that. But it's touching upon all the same sort of things that Noel covered in his video, to be fair. So what can I do about this? I'm not sure. I'm reluctant to adjust the head alignment, because of the alignment, there's nothing wrong with it. The problem is this metal bit here. It needs some sort of solution to stop this from bending back the other way. And the obvious thing that springs to mind is, why is that not a solid piece of metal? And I think the reason being is it's to provide a bit of strain relief. So when this carriage here goes all the way one way or the other, instead of it, you know, being jammed, if you like, I think the spring back here means that that bar can wobble a little bit deliberately to take some tension out of the, you know, because there's probably a piece of plastic or a piece of metal goes across, it's probably a piece of metal actually, it goes across there, I think I can see it on the inside across this bar. So if the motor was trying to overdrive it one way or the other, the tension would kind of like, with each notch, would spring out here. I think that's what that is for, because otherwise you may as well have a solid back on that and make sure that bar can't move anywhere. Does that make sense? The bar thing there is nothing to do with the alignment, although adjusting the alignment will help solve the problem. But only over a period of time. I would imagine that the problem would just come back as that metal there loses its tension again. So you know what I'm like, I always come up with crazy ideas. Can you see, I've put a shim in there. A piece of plastic cut to size just slid underneath the metal part here, so it's just wedged in, which is putting the extra tension on that. And believe it or not, that works. That just solves it. It's totally reliable now. So one of the problems with these, as Noel pointed out, is that metal bit. You could adjust the alignment, but as I say, I think that's just going to come back and haunt you later on. On some of the drives, I noticed that the bit of metal was bent right out on some of the drives he showed, which showed it got quite bad to the point where the metal had just lost all its springiness. And that's what you need something just to hold it. Well, shimming a bit of plastic in there, can you see that? I've wedged it right in. Can't come out. I could always stick something over there to hold that, a bit of tape or something to hold it, stop it from coming out, but that's all you need, is actually a shim. So let's just try that again now, and this works every single time. I guess the benefit here is you don't need to adjust the alignment. That's the thing, you know, the issue is it loses the springiness on that bit of metal. And I've tested this a good 30 or 40 times here. You remove the shim, it doesn't work. You stick the shim back in, and it just works. So the benefit here, if you've seen Noel's video, and I do recommend you check that video out. I'll post a link down to his channel below. It's a very good video. He also goes the extra step and actually connects up a scope to the head signal. You know, the signal gets amplified. And he optimises the track alignment there based on the strength of that signal on the scope. So it's worth watching that, and you could do the same thing on a 1200 floppy drive. It's just a case of finding that signal. You could just probe around with the scope on ×10 until you find the signal there. But that works. It works reliably. Absolutely reliably. So let's just do joystick, hit fire. There you go. So it's loading the level. Super quick loading. I can hear it hitting the tracks and things. Sweet. I'm really pleased with that. But you see, the thing is, I'll be honest, had I not seen Noel's video, I would have spent a little bit of time scratching my head going, I wonder what it is. And then I probably would have seen that motor in the back and played around with the alignment, but I'm not so sure I would have known about the actual springiness of that metal. So I've got to thank Noel for highlighting that, bringing that into people's attention, that it's a common issue on certain drives for the CPC. So what did I use for the shim there? I just used one of these chip container things. It's just a surplus one that I was going to throw out. Yeah, looking at the thickness of that, I don't know what to compare it to. It's very thin. It's less than 1 millimetre, half a millimetre maybe. So about a week later, you can see it's still working. Managed to load the game, no problems at all. I've tested this every day over the space of the last week actually. Took the disc in and out, in and out, in and out, tested at different temperatures here. What I mean by that is first thing in the morning, it's freezing in here. So I had to bring part 1 to an end there. There will be a part 2, maybe a part 3, I'm not sure. There's another fault with this, that will be covered in the next part. But also in the next part, I'd like to swap out this drive for a Gotek. So these drives use the CF2 discs here, the 3-inch, they're not 3.5-inch, it's a similar kind of thing. The single-sided, as you can see, you've got like a sponge thing here and then the single head. And it's 180k per side, 40 tracks. But as I mentioned earlier, you can flip the discs over, and sometimes you'll have a B-side. With this particular one, the B-side seems unformatted. If anyone has red heat, please let me know. Is there supposed to be something on the B-side? Can I format it and write something else to it? I'm not sure. You can see the right protect tabs here. That's something else I didn't show. And I think that little sensor we saw may be to do with the RPM timing. Let's just see if we can, with these here, you slide this, the mechanism slides that, look. Yeah, can you see that there? So I suspect there'll be a hole in here if we just rotate this around. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Can you see that? You can see straight through. So yeah, that is for the RPM timing. You'll have a beam of light, infrared or something, and a sensor on the other side, and it uses the pulses that are detected by the disc rotating there to slow down or speed up the rotation to get the RPM spot on. I'm not sure what the speed is on these. It's probably going to be similar to other systems, probably somewhere like 300 RPM or something like that. Might not be though. So thanks to Mike for sending this, and do check out that video I mentioned down below on Noel's Retro Lab. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you in the next video.